Hello everybody, it's Hawk here, back with another deck. This is one of the other decks I was playing. Played this one on and off, even during MPQ, just because it had an interesting matchup during that. It was a little different, obviously, during MPQ than you see before you. This is definitely more teched out for fighting Red Eyes. This one I've definitely played less than Slimes, because I did find Slimes to be very enjoyable in a goofy manner. I kind of just like anything with Heatwave in it. But this deck, I don't know why I always come back to this deck. Maybe it's just because I enjoy large idiots who hit hard and hit a lot. I definitely do have a weakness for decks like that. But I think part of it might actually be because, and I can't believe I found this, this is an old Sanga of the Thunder that I bought as a kid. Bought this old boy for, I think, remember this is in like 2003 money. For like $5 from a store. And this guy went in just about every deck I played. I also have a Kazi Jin. Don't know where the heck I got him. I might have pulled him, actually. Never got the Sui Jin. Never honestly cared. But, so maybe that's part of it. There's some nostalgia here. But, let's get off the nostalgia train and let's just go with this deck here. So this is, of course, a Beware the Brothers Paradox deck. Let's be real here. It's the only Paradox skill that's actually worth even really examining. The other two suck. One just sucks a hell of a lot less than the other one does. I'm never going to not be a little annoyed by that, considering there's a whole labyrinth wall thing they could have did, but whatever. I'm not going to get into it. And this is more or less the refined version I have come to. Now, obviously, I have been sort of pre-side decking in here. You're going to notice that when we get there. And this is a very strange deck to build for, just as an FYI. But let's go down the card list. So Black Brachios is in here because it's a normal summon that does something. That is literally it. This is kind of just there to check stuff. Like, it's nice to just know. When going up against Gearfried, it's nice to just kind of go, flip it, and then see what it is. You're not really happy if it's Gearfried, but if they're setting Gearfried, their hand is shit. Just saying. But it is nice to know that you're going to run into Baby. Just letting you know on that one. Other than that, it doesn't do a lot. There's very few times where you're ever going to care about something being really big and then putting it in defense mode. Because, like, his ass is so big anyway, it doesn't matter. There's just not enough moments outside of Dark Gaia exactly, and let's be real, this deck is not surviving a Dark Gaia OTK, unless you've got one of the big boys up on top. So, Brachios is just here, and you can substitute it with really any decent normal summon. You could put another copy of another guy in here if you wanted. Cough, chow side. Next card is, I mean, we're going more dinos. It is a little funny this deck has 2 dinos in it, which is amusing to me. But Black Terra, the world's worst treeborn frog. In this deck, it just is treeborn frog. Literally, that's it. You summon it, you tribute it, it goes right back to your hand. It is fucking great. I've never been unhappy with Black Terra in my hand. You're only attacking with one monster anyway, so him being tiny doesn't matter. It's always nice to just have a guy in hand. Speaking of a guy, say hello to Chowsai the Ghost Stopper. Single-handedly, the biggest middle finger this deck has to Red Eyes Gearfried. Well, not single-handedly. There's another guy in here, but he's in the side deck. Depending on your meta, you'd probably want to put him in the main deck. He is a giant asshole. But Chowsai is fantastic. Any deck running around with Blast hates running into him. And honestly, Iron Grit gets kind of stuffed by him single-handedly just because he's so much bigger than half the crap they have, and they can't blast with Chain him. On top of this, he's also funny going into a Cyber Angel board because you can tribute him off to banish their Mar, so he's a really slow DD Crow. That part's not mind-blowing, but it comes up occasionally, and it's kind of nice that it's available as an option. It's just letting you know that one. But normally, you want to keep him around alongside a big fella, and then you just giggle because there's nothing they can do about it. He is a very nice normal summon. I'm very happy with him. I wish I had more normal summons of this caliber, but I don't. Next one, we have one copy of DD Warrior Lady. I don't actually want to run more of this. It's just nice to have her. She's a problem solver. It's convenient. Nothing mind-blowing here. Then we have Fog King. This is because I face a lot more CA than I face anything else. I can almost always assure that I'm going to run into a CA player at locals, so Fog King is preemptively in here. You can substitute this for whatever other thing you want. This is a tech slot. Do with this what you will. I will say Fog King is very amusing, specifically in this deck, because if you happen to have, like, 2 pieces on board, you contribute both of them for him, and he's fucking huge. I'm just saying it's funny. Not that it comes up, just it's funny. And he is a 7, so he does coincide with the rest of this deck. So you could, like, tribute off a Chow Sai and a frickin' Giant Idiot or something if you wanted to, and go from there. It is funny. You can get bigger than Izana that way, which is useful at times. Alright, then we have our Gate Guardian pieces. It's triple Kazujin, triple Sanga. This is nothing new. This is nothing weird you haven't seen before. You want them in your opening hand, and honestly, I have found cutting down on them just really fucks with the deck. Honestly, you're better off just playing slightly more cards than cutting these guys down. The ratio thing gets weird. There's a whole lot of math involved. I just kind of kept this way off of feel. It's nice. Kazujin's fine. Sanga's fine. You can't play Suijin in case you run into Alo decks, because then he's completely turned off and it sucks ass, and honestly, the extra 100 attack doesn't really matter, or very rarely ever comes up. Then you get Zolga. I love Zolga. Zolga's so funny in this deck. You actually get to use its effect, and you just gain a shitload of life points. 2,000 life points is not nothing. That generally buys you a whole extra turn, and also royally fucks up almost every OTK we have currently in the game, meaning they're not getting through this. So, Zolga's fantastic. You could, of course, cut, like, one of your other normal summons to play a third, but I don't think it's that good. It's just really nice as a 2-of in here. Again, you want to play 3, I'm not going to stop you, and you can have 1,000,000 life points. Enjoy that. Fairy Meteor Crush is necessary in this deck. For God's sake, we were playing H-Heated Heart back in the day because it gave piercing. This is so much better, because defense position monsters are what stuffs this deck. A Sanga equipped with a Fairy Meteor Crush is an imminent threat to everything's existence. Just trust me on that. It's really good. You want these in here. You could arguably go to 3. I wouldn't. It is very good, but it's not so good that I want to cut all the rest of my stuff. The Night Beams can be replaced with MSTs now, if you would like, but honestly, the Night Beam was here because, frankly, I don't feel like getting stopped by random chainable crap. That's mostly my issue. But again, we're mostly all going to be on Widespreads and Sakus, so MST is going to do basically the same job unless people suddenly shift over to Wabaku, which is entirely possible. But this is just your back row slot, whatever you want in here. Soul Exchange, solving problems all fucking day. What can I tell you? There's a Plasma on board? Fuck your Plasma. There's an Izana on board? Fuck the Izana. There's anything else that's ginormous and a pain in your ass? Fuck it. Go away. It's really funny doing that to Red Eyes Gearfried. It's so good. The Floodgate is just a good one-of. You could play Offerings if you wanted. I prefer Floodgate Trap Hole. It's a me thing. And then 2 Widespreads. These are your defensive options. You could change these for Sphere Karibos if you wanted. I'm not going to yell at you. You can put whatever defensive trap you want in here. I just think Widespread's the best out of all of them. Now, of course, there's no Waking because the skill doesn't let you, so there's no extra deck because you can't play with an extra deck in this because they're not stupid. I don't know. I think I just wanted another one, but on top of that, you also can't burn shit, so there's a whole bunch of other dumb crap in here. Like, that can't happen, thank God, because sitting on one of these assholes with a bunch of burn cards would suck ass. Thank God we're not doing that. Anyway, side deck time. We have Angel 07. The silver fucking bullet for Red Eyes Gearfried. Except then they fucking top deck share the pain. That's what happened to me. I fought a really great match the other week with this deck up against a guy playing Red Eyes Gearfried. We got into game 3. Like we were talking, I slammed this thing. Literally share the pain was the only thing that got him out of it. That was the only thing that got him out of that situation. That was down and I was going for the kill. Nope. Fucking share the pain got me. What are you gonna do, right? It's Yu-Gi-Oh, baby. Now, this guy's not here because I necessarily think he's mind-blowing. He was in here as an experiment, and I only got to use him once. And he was okay. The reason I put him in here is because, A, he's a 7, and B, his effect is funny. So, you kill something by battle with him, then you well, actually, if anything is destroyed at all, sorry, you can then equip it to him, and then you can send that thing equipped to him to the graveyard and destroy all monsters your opponent controls the same type. So it's kind of tribe infecting virus on a really big body in a weird roundabout fashion. I only really experimented with this, like, once, because I didn't really care enough to side it in. Usually I was siding in Angel 07 because that turned off more things. But honestly, I felt I had a really good vampire matchup one game, so I just put him in to test it out. It never came up, but it was like, you know, conceivably it's okay, because if they can put a bunch of idiots on board, you can just kind of eat the board. It's a board wipe. And the logic is that this deck needs to get to a direct attack somehow, and if it doesn't, he kind of gets you there. I'm not going to yell at you for taking this out and putting something else in, like, I don't know, a third widespread or more back row removal. You do you. I was experimenting with this, and this is what he was in there for. It's kind of neat. Jurex Spinos is another honorable mention I would like to put in here, because when it destroys a monster, it creates a token in attack mode, so it can attack the token. So you can always put damage on board. That one's probably a better generic. So honestly, you'd probably put Fog King inside. Take this out, put Fog King inside, and then put Spinos up in there, just as the generic other guy. I don't own a Spinos, which is why he's not in here. I would have totally tried that. So I can't tell you if, because on paper that sounds great. I can't tell you if it actually works that way in practice. You can let me know if you've experimented with that. It always looked really sexy to me. The other 2 3-ofs are limit 3s are Book of Moons. Book of Moon is just a really good card. I'm not playing them in main because I don't really have room for them. And in certain like if I'm going up against, again, I keep bringing it up, Cyber Angels, I can take out the back row removal because they don't really play back row in there, so I don't give a shit. So I'll put the Book of Moons in. You could put them in main. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm just saying you can do that. And then Lost Wind, because Lost Wind's just a good card. There's enough special summoning at this point that Lost Wind is a very good card. And, you know, again, I'm going to keep saying it. This is a solution to Cyber Angels, specifically because I run into them a lot. Would this necessarily be the best card to use against, I don't know, Red Eyes Gearfried? Not really. I mean, if the Gearfried summoned off the baby, it's actually pretty great. In every other circumstance, you want to die because it's fucking terrible, but I'm just saying it has matchup there. You could also use it on Dark Scorpions if you happen to run into them. I haven't seen them around very often, but just saying. That's a thing you could do. We're going to have a lot of this because there's going to be a lot of fusioning and special summoning. So honestly, Lost Wind might actually be pretty decent just for the having, because you can do it in damage step, and then they usually don't get a lot of retaliation. And honestly, this deck's already really good at doing the go fuck yourself in damage step. Like, you could double down on it more. Or you could put something else in here. I'm not going to yell at you. You put whatever you want in this. The side deck is very malleable, if you haven't been able to tell. With that being said, what is this deck's weakness? Oh, God removal. Dear God, removal is your problem. You will always go -1 getting one of these boys on board. Which isn't too terrible, considering they actually do have effective battle protection, in quotes. But it's like, you're going normal summon guy, summon Sangha, maybe set a card, and then if they blow it out real quick, you are just so fucking upset, because it is so hard to get back in the game. You don't have any darks, so you can't play a lure. We don't have any other real good draw cards, and you are stuck to this skill. You can't do any weird skill shenanigans unless you're playing double up format, and I'm not going to talk to you about double up format. This is kind of why Soul Exchange is so important, because if you're saddled with a bunch of your tributes, Soul Exchange just completely gets you out of that. You are 100% out of that fight, and there's nothing funnier than Soul Exchanging into a fucking Fog King against CA. Just eat the Azana and wham, Fog King. Fuck you. Oh my god. It's a magical moment. It's magical. Other than that, you're basically just looking around for monsters that have good normal summons to put in here, and that's another thing you kind of run into. Like, Chow Sai is a really good thing to contest the normal summons, but the fact that you can only attack with one monster screws you. So you have to do this. Now, you get to attack twice, but they have to have multiple monsters, and that gets weird again, which is what the piercing's for. Again, this is why Spinos is really good, because if you send something to the grave, it gets to make a token, and you can run the token over, which is really cute, convenient. Really, the deck is tight. You don't have a lot of space in here for a lot of things you want to counteract the things you die to. Like, Hammer Shot murders you. Offerings just fucks you. If you get too out-tempoed, you're just kinda dead. Now, a lot of decks can say that. This deck is particularly bad, because while you want one of the pieces don't do anything on their own. You always need a second card, and there's no way to get one, which is why this little bastard is so good, because you will always have your normal summon then. Which means a smart player is going to, try to banish that somehow, if they have a means of doing so, or just get rid of the thing by battle. Which, there's a couple of ways to do this, but honestly, it's not a huge deal. Like, honestly, most people aren't going to be able to have an answer to that, because most people aren't playing DD Crow or something. But the deck's got some issues. The strengths are, though, you get to absolutely murder somebody really quick if they happen to go wide. Like, if they go wide and you opened, crush, dude, and then dude, you will just pummel them into the dirt, and it's really satisfying watching that happen. You get to use the obscure 7s that most people don't know of. Like, Angel 07 just murders decks. This thing just shits on them. Because this isn't on field. That is neither player activates monster effects. End of conversation. Convo's over. We're done. Go fuck yourself. You can't tell I enjoy this deck, but I will not pretend it doesn't have problems. It can be extremely powerful. It can have a huge swing in tempo and just win the game out of nowhere. But at the same time, you also can just lose the game out of nowhere depending on how your draws go. Because I have been in plenty of games where I draw like a back row hate, crush, and then like 2 Gate Guardian pieces. And I'm literally just hoping to God they can't kill my Sangha that's already sitting on board. Because if they do, I'm a dead man. With that being said, would I recommend playing it? Hell yeah, I would. Tailor it to your desires. Put whatever obscure normal summons you want in here. Put whatever weird 7s you want. We got a couple of options in there. You tell me down below your stories with this, if you have any. So remember to like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff below. Peace out, everybody.